Hey everyone, it's Keelan Windorf and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, go below and hit subscribe for me. I do a bunch of comedy and magic on this channel, so you're really going to enjoy it if you like those two things. Plus, I try to throw in some couple different things in there, so be on the lookout for that. But today I want to talk about the etiquette of open mics. Now, everything's been opening up a little bit lately, and I've been trying to do as many open mics as possible. I usually get booked for specific shows, and lately I've been trying to expand my horizons as a performer. I've performed all over the US, and open mics are definitely a cool way to branch out a bit and meet new people. And especially because we've been inside for mostly a year, it's a good area for you to try new content. If you're doing comedy, trying new jokes. For magic, trying new pieces of magic. And overall, just getting some airtime, because sometimes if you're not on stage for a while and you're not doing anything video-wise, you kind of get this rust, and you want to just kind of, take it a little bit by bit. You don't want to just jump in and do a 30 to 40 minute show. You want to kind of just do it a little bit here and there and kind of feel it out. So first things first, if you're an audience member, just respect the performers. If you're a performer watching the show, or if you're just going to see a show, respect the performers at all times. Don't be that guy that heckles. It looks bad on you. Plus, everybody's trying to try something new up there. Especially, I see a lot of new comics going up on stage, and it's one of those things where give them your attention and, applaud them. There are some times where it goes a little bit, some jokes aren't that good, but at the end of it all, always applaud them coming up, always applaud them when they're coming off. Be respectful to the performers, because it's very difficult getting on that stage. When I used to go on stage, the first times I went on stage, I would shake profusely. I would literally shake with the microphone in my hand. I could not stand still. I had that bad of anxiety of performing. But just give them your all and enjoy the show. As a performer, know that when you do an open mic, that you're going to probably have around 5 minutes of performing. So what you need to do is you need to create either some jokes, some magic, some pieces of music. So I know for 5 minutes, I'm probably going to squeeze in, for me, because I do a mix of comedy and magic, maybe 2 to 3 jokes and 2 magic tricks. And that's how my show goes for 5 minutes. As a comic, you might want to do maybe 5 jokes or 5 pieces of comedic content. And then as a musician, I would say around 2 songs maybe. Or if you just want to do some, Metallica stuff, you got like 5 minutes as 1 song. So it's all up to you on how you want to do that. But the best thing to do is when you're at home, bring out your camera and practice. That way you kind of get your timing down, and you get your, for instance, I almost stuttered there. For instance, your comedic timing. That's a very good portion of what you're doing, because if you have like a punchline to stuff, you kind of want to let it linger for a bit. But if you're a seasoned comic, you know this. But you want to kind of figure out where you're going before you get up there. So always record yourself doing your set before you go and do it. That way it's kind of fresh in your head, and you don't have to always reference. I usually have my set, so if I'm doing comedy, I usually have my set on my phone. I've seen people take notebooks up there, and you can just put it on the stool, and it's able for you to reference when there's times where you get lost up there. You start talking, and you might go into improv mode. You might talk about a certain joke and elaborate a little bit on it to a point where you go, okay, what was I going to talk about next? You can go over to the paper, and just at that point, the biggest rule that I've figured out is always have a drink with you, whether it's water, a beer, some wine, and to step back from the mic. It gives you time to breathe and to relax, because sometimes, like I was always this person, I would rush through things because I wouldn't know the time, and I try to get through it fast. Just take your time up there, make that 5 minutes count. So always have a drink up there, so that when you go back, you can take a sip and look at your notes when you're doing your comedy or your magic or your music. That way oh hey, this is what I'm doing. And make sure you know the host, okay? Because they will tell you, they're going to give you a light. So know where the light is too, because when that light goes off, you have about a minute left. So always know who the host is and where the light is. which I almost forgot. Gotta remember this one. When you show up to a show, always go up to the owner and the host. If you don't know anybody yet, you will throughout the night. And make sure at the end of the night that you personally introduce yourself to everybody. Because when you get to an open mic, you don't know who's a performer and who's an audience member sometimes, but you do know who the owner is of the venue, and you do know who the host is of the venue. So make sure you try, well, not of the venue, the host of the show for that night. So make sure you introduce yourself to them. For instance, my name is very difficult, so it kind of helps to go up to the host and ask, hey, you know, my name's Keelan, just so you remember it, because sometimes people just butcher my name and it's fine. You know, I can work it into the show in some way, but you also just want to make it easier on the host. So there's that. Make sure to just say hi to everybody, and even when you're leaving the venue, if everybody's still there and you're leaving, just say hi, just say bye to everybody. Which also brings me to the next portion of etiquette. Always stay for the whole show. For instance, if you are going on first, don't be the person that you did your set and you're going to go home. Always stay, because I feel like that's more respect for all the other entertainers. So always sit. I don't care if it's a 2-hour or 3-hour show. If you're first, sit through the whole 3 hours. Grab yourself a burger, or if they have food at the venue, grab it, grab a beer, chill out, enjoy the comedy. Most of the time, open mics are free except for getting food. So, I mean, why not, you know? But mostly, do it for the respect of the other performers. They sat and watched you. Give them your all. But there's many different things about open mics. Also, don't try and force content. If something's not working, don't try to force your audience to laugh at something that they're not finding funny. Okay, so this is for comedians, basically. I've seen this one, and it's really awkward. If things aren't hitting, go back to the drawing board, okay? That's the reason why you're doing an open mic, is to figure out what works, what doesn't work, you know, and this is where the whole writing your notes down, you know, on your phone. If you have your phone after your set, or your notes, you know, give a check mark to things that work, or go on your phone. I usually do the lists on my phone, and I check mark the jokes and the tricks that work for people at said venue. And this also is very weird, especially if you go to different areas. For instance, I live in Indiana. Some things might work here, but not in Chicago. But I'm very close to Chicago. So I can go to an open mic in Chicago and go, okay, this works for Chicago. So you can either put parentheses and location and figure it out that way. Because each place has their own kind of feel and how people think what is funny and what isn't. For instance, you know, if I do a show up here, up north, people might laugh, but if I go down to Florida, people are like, eh. So you gotta find things that are very, very relevant. But biggest thing is just to go up there and have some fun for 5 minutes and then enjoy a show. So that's kind of like what I wanted to go over, guys. I wanted just to kind of give a little bit of my etiquette and how I view stuff. You know, I've always done this, and even with magicians, we'll have nights where, when I grew up, I used to go to this place called the Magic Lounge. You always showed up, you did your show, and then you gave everybody your all. It's just etiquette to me. It's how I was taught. You know, always give everybody your all. Even with pro wrestling. Pro wrestling. If you're the first match, you know, you guys get done wrestling, you know, go backstage, throw on your street clothes, end up at the back of the crowd and watch the show throughout the whole show and wait until the end. Don't ever leave early. But that's everything I wanted to give you guys. I might have missed a few points, and I might throw them in the comments below, but I wanted to kind of give my 2 cents about this because I want to see a lot more people come out. You know, there's a lot of cool comedians in this area, and I want to see more magicians to work with on stage. It'd be interesting to see that. You don't really get that much here in Indiana, but wherever you are, I would love to see you do more as a performer and to just go do open mics and just kind of put yourself out there to give yourself more experiences. That way you can get booked for other shows. You know, I hope to be a feature act at one of these venues, and you got to work for it, okay? Like, we've been inside. Like I said, the rust is still there. Just make sure you get that rust off, you know. And like, one more thing. 2 things I do not like. This is just personal preference. Stay away from politics. I feel like politics are really bad to talk about. Don't ever talk about politics if you're doing comedy. If you're doing comedy, politics are a no-go. That's in my book. And COVID. Don't talk about COVID on stage. We lived a year through it. Don't want to talk about it. The point of the show is to get away from that. So I hope these all work for you guys. Enjoy yourselves. And if you have any questions, please leave them below, and I would love to reply to them. So thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe. I might actually throw up a open mic I do one day, just a 5-minute video. You know, you never know what you can get. But thank you guys for watching. Take care. Be safe. And let me know if your shows are going good. Take care.